Hello and welcome to another capture part in the texture series. In this episode I want to talk about the problems that we have when we have not enough light sources. And to make that really a problem, I have chosen here a surface where we have problems to eliminate that with one light source. And especially when you have a light source that is not bigger than this color checker here, the little LED pocket light that I have shown during What's in the Bag episode. And so wherever we place it, we will have some shadows. And inside of this area here, we will have shadows as well. And I show you that here, these little guys. This is, of course, most of the time not acceptable, and we have to deal with other problems here, of course. So the capturing was set up as usual. I tried to have the camera as straightforward to the surface, perpendicular to the surface as possible. I have tried to have it very straight, even if this here is all a little bit wavy. And I went far away. As you can see here, it's 200mm with this lens. So we have a very nice orthographic view. It's of course not exactly orthographic, but it's very far away for this small guy here. And the idea is here to talk about different light setups and how to combine them later. And the combination will be shown here in this tutorial, but how to do it is then part of the post process in part number 3 of the texture series. So when I go here now to one of these textures, I can see here without the color checker that we have in the middle here a lot of light, and where the light was is of course clear based on the shadows more to the left, and we can say also it was more a little bit on the lower position as the shadows are here pretty clear to see. The next one was then more on this side, and we can see that we have here a hotspot. Not very nice, and we have everything dark here. It goes even so far that we can't reach with one exposure into that area. I have shot here, of course, 3 different exposures, but I want to show you how we can get away with just one, where we have the main area in a nice light. And then we can go here further, and then we see we have this area here very dark, this very bright. That means the light source was on the left side and pretty low. Very clear to recognize here on these shadows. And when I go now through these, you will get bored maybe when I explain that each time. But it's pretty clear where the light source was and where we have not sufficient light at all. So a very mixed bag of impressions here in terms of light. As I said, it's not possible to get this whole thing with one shot. Maybe when we put the light source directly close to the lens and then far away, and then we have not enough power with that little thing. And the idea here is, of course, to give you an option to have in your pocket a little light, and when you see a small area or a medium-sized area that you urgently want to have, and it's maybe evening and the light is not the best, and then you can use this, for example. Okay, let's hop over to Photoshop, where I have placed all of these guys already into a stack. I will show the procedure, of course, during the post-processing, but I want to give you now already an idea where we are heading. And based on the color checker, I was able to get the light temperature of this LED light here very clearly. And so just simply one exposure, even if I have here these dark areas, but you can see that's all this stuff here. And again, let's hop over to Photoshop and see what happens there. In Photoshop, we have the option to go here just in File to Script and to load files into Stack. And you get here then an interface. And I would highly recommend to not use here the attempt to automatically align the source images, because based on the highlights and the shadows that you have in the pictures, the whole algorithm is completely screwed. And that will not result in good pictures. All of these images that I have here in my stack are done with a very stable tripod. I have not touched at all the camera or the tripod during the shooting process. Same is of course true for this basket here. I have used a remote control for the camera, so there was no change in the setup. That's very important. And here you can see already I have here an image that is called a mean. And when I have here my stack and I have put this into a smart object, then I can, after I've selected it, go to image and, no, to layer, sorry, and to smart objects and go here to stack mode. And at the moment I have here the variance not visible because I have all the other ones open, and I can set this to none where we start normally from. And you have to go maybe to the manual to get here really all the formulas and the meaning of these words. But pretty clear is mean, medium, minimum and maximum. That's from my point of view the most important part for this type of work. And of course, before I go here a little ahead of my game and talk already more in post-production than in setup and capture process, I wanted to show you this here because in a moment you know what you can do. You can capture. So it's part of the capture process when we go here one time through it. The mean is this one here. It gives you roughly an average, as the medium gives, or median. And there's only a tiny little bit of difference, and you see already that's not nice. So the mean is not bad at all. And when we go to median, that is a little bit too dark, and the minimum means we get from everything that is in the stack always the lowest value. So all the shadows that you have are visible, and anything that is brighter than the shadows are the lowest value for each pixel. That's maybe not what we like to have. That's maybe nice, but not exactly where we are heading. And then we have maximum, and I think this is pretty interesting, because normally when we would take all these layers on top of each other and we would take here the blend mode, for example, add, then we would add all of these values and we would not get anything really that works for us. So, and when we take a look, the maximum gives us exactly always the maximum that one pixel has in the stack. It's not just a summarization and then divided by all these guys. So it's just always where we had the light in the best way. And this looks pretty even here. And my concern here is only that we have to deal here also with some specular highlights, not really glossy highlights, but they are there. And of course, these are most of the time the hottest parts in the pixel or in the surface here. And so this might be a good idea for dull objects. And then we come already to something that is maybe a little bit weird. Range is the name, and my estimation, and I might be wrong here, but it's the range that the darkest to the brightest pixel has. And that is maybe interesting when we have here to deal, for example, with the mean, and then we add this on top of each other, so we get more light here on the side. But I think the result is from the start already so screwed off that I would rather stay with the maximum and take a look finally if I have here then the color checker in later on, if that really makes sense, if that can be that bright. But it looks fairly good here based on the impression that I had with the light. And of course we can't go over any point that we had in the illumination. It's not just adding, and I repeat myself here, of course. Okay, and then we have something here that is called skewness, and that is really something where I have no idea how to use it, but I want to show you how far off we can go with these things here. So before I get boring here, I want to say thanks for listening, have fun with it, bye bye.